Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's very small comic review. Yeah, it's really a tiny week here, folks. I figure, once again, it's this time of the year where, after the holidays, it just gets really very quiet with comics. Now, there's still some good stuff that came out, but it's going to be few and far between for hopefully the few weeks. But I also think that that's a good thing because one of my big complaints with comics recently is there's just too much product out there and it's just kind of overwhelming. So a lot of stuff gets kind of lost in the shuffle. So with that being said, I think this is a good time to check out stuff maybe you missed and, catch up, with other things. Also get maybe some trades and including a really wonderful Omnibus that came out this week. So we'll get going with what we have this week. First up, we have Rom the Spaceknight, Omnibus Volume 1, The Marvel Years, written by Bill Mantlo, and with pencils by Sal Buscema, pencils by Sal Buscema, with inks by Sal Buscema and Joe Sonnet. There's also some other creators because there was a crossover with Power Man and Iron Fist that are included, but we're concentrating on the main creators of Rom the Spaceknight. Now, the brief history of this was there was a toy created by Parker Brothers called Rom the Spaceknight. And he really didn't do much. He had like 4 or 5 points of articulation. Like his arms moved, his legs moved, and that was about it. But the big thing was that he had LEDs for his eyes, and he had breathing sound. So he was, was kind of ahead of its time in some ways as far as toys, but he really wasn't much of an action figure. And then he had these accessories. There was like a gun, a thing that, well, here, I can look it up. Here, we'll look it up. Let's see. You have to forgive me. Rom's energy analyzer. Rom's translator, and then Rom's weapon is a neutralizer. So those are the 3 weapons, and that was the, text from Parker Brothers themselves. So because of the success of Star Wars, Jim Shooter decided, hey, maybe licensed things are a good thing. And so there was Rom, there was Micronauts, both were, eventually, owned by Hasbro. And another one that came about was Godzilla. Hopefully, there's been rumors that that's being reprinted this year. Hopefully, we'll get our wish with that one. They are doing an omnibus for the Micronauts. That has been announced. But getting back to Rom, the thing about Rom was he didn't really have much of a backstory. So it was really up to Bill Mantlo to really come up with a story. And what it is he comes to Earth because there's these race that are able to transform themselves into humans, and they're going to take over, take over Earth like they've taken over other planets. Now, Rom is part of the Spaceknight's corps that goes around and tries to find the race. So, when he comes to Earth, he starts killing people, and people are like, oh, crap, it's like an alien killing people, but he's not. He's actually sending them to basically a simple way. It's like the Phantom Zone. He sends them to the Phantom Zone where they're trapped there forever. And so so once again, the rights had gone from different publishers, including IDW. Now they wanted to reprint the Marvel ROM, but the problem is that there's a lot of issues with Marvel characters in it. The X-Men showed up, the Fantastic Four, Galactus, Power Man, Iron Fist. So, they could reprint certain issues, but it would really be incomplete because there was a lot of crossover with the Marvel Universe, because at that time, they had licensed it and they could do whatever they want to with it. So, fortunately, Marvel made a deal with Hasbro to reprint these, and they've done a really nice job of reprinting them. Includes issues 1 through, I believe, so it includes ROM 1 through 29 and Power Man Iron Fist number 73. And I will say Power Man Iron Fist was written by Stephen Grant and Joe Duffy and illustrated by Greg Larroquette. So those are the other ones. And also there's some supplementary. There's some original cover designs. Ed Hannigan had originally did a cover that wasn't used. There's scans of some of Sal Buscema's original art pages. So there's a nice little supplementary section. Yeah, it's a little pricey at $125, but once again, I never thought in my lifetime that those comics would ever get reprinted because of the rights issues, and it was really up to Marvel to make the deal to get the rights to be able to reprint them. So definitely, you know, that's for me, it's a big nostalgia trip because I read this when it came out, because I had the toy and it was really quite fascinating and everything. I really enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, at $125, it's going to be very limited audience, but hopefully if this one sells well, they'll reprint the rest of them. The book did run 75 issues, I believe. 75 or 79, and so hopefully they'll be able to reprint the other ones in another volume. So that's a hope that this one sells well. So if you know of the book, definitely pick it up from your local comic shop. If it should still be orderable, it just came out this week. So in case they didn't order it and you do want it, definitely, as always, support your local comic shop and buy it through them instead of like Amazon, because you need to support your local comic shop. Okay, we'll get to that later. But anyways, I love this book. I was really happy with the quality that Marvel did on this. It's another win for their weirdo omnibuses that come out. And I'm very excited about this, and I'm very excited about the Micronauts. So we'll review that one when it comes down the pike. Okay, so as far as regular comics, first up we have Ghost Machine #1. Okay, so there's multiple previews. So we have Geiger, written by Jeff Johns, with artwork by Gary Frank. We have Redcoat, written by Jeff Johns and with artwork by Brian Hitch. We have Rook, written by Jeff Johns, with artwork by Jason Fabok. The Rocket Fellers, written by Peter J. Tomasi, with artwork by Francis Monopole. Hornsby and Halo, written by Peter J. Tomasi and Peter Scheinberg. And Hyde Street, written by Jeff Johns, with pencils by Ivan Reyes, and inks by Danny Mickey. So this is really a sampler book. Now Geiger's been, has already came out. There's actually a couple trades of that. So the Geiger and the Redcoat story are kind of kind of tell the origin of those two characters. Because they've already kind of been in the comics. Redcoat was a backup in Geiger. So this is just kind of a, get to know these characters, little short stories. These are all new stories, but, it's kind of a recap of their origins. Now Rook, is all new, and it's going to kick off a book, a new series, new mini-series is coming out, I believe in March or April. And it's basically about, this dying planet, and, people are trying to get off, but there's people that have these helmets that they're able to communicate and control animals. So Rook is one of those, and instead of trying to, leave the planet, he's trying to help, save the planet from basically bad guys. There's people that have, taken control of like this dying planet. So that's really the basic premise here. Fabok's artwork is nice. And going back to Geiger and Redcoat, Gary Frank has always done a nice job on Geiger with the artwork, and Brian Hitch, it's Brian Hitch doing Redcoat. The artwork on all these is really fantastic, so we'll just kind of keep going. The Rockefellers was really interesting. It's about this family from the future that have been sent to the past to save the future. And it really was kind of interesting. Once again, these are short stories, so it's more of a setup. You kind of get to know the family. The grandmother has she's still in the future, but she's there with a halo head. That was kind of weird, but kind of neat. And then they have the crotchety grandfather, which is always a win. And so they have to kind of, even though they're from the future, they have to blend in with the past where they are, and we don't quite know what's going on. But like I said, it's more of a, a short story to set up the book when it comes out. Then we have Hornsby and Halo. What it is so we have basically Rose is the devil's, devil daughter. She's a devil. And then Zachary is the angel. So it's kind of like, they're basically what the short story is they're at a baseball game and, it's the angels versus the devils. So, it's a cute little story. And because they're kids, they're not necessarily, per se good or evil. So it was kind of interesting. Once again, these are just snapshots of what these books are going to be. So, I will say that Peter Steinberg's artwork is really nice. It's really good looking. And then the final story, Hyde Street, which is kind of like, the best way I got the impression was kind of like Twilight Zone stories where, things can happen depending on what you do and what forces around you. That's really the basic premise. Once again, these are short stories, so they're not really complete. It's more of a setup. And, of course, Ivan Ria's artwork is really, really great. It's a really good-looking book. The purpose of this special, first of all, this is a lot of book, and the cover price is $5, so it's kind of a deal. There's also kind of who's who type pages with the characters. It gives you a little background. That was a nice nod to DC's Who's Who. And, once again, it's more of a sampler to kick off the big, Ghost Machine books that are coming down the road. These are all creator-owned books. So it's actually kind of, it's a good deal. You get a lot of bang for your buck on this one. And it gives you a sample of like, maybe if you haven't read Geiger, this is kind of interesting. I'll start reading it. So it's really a sampler to get you to interest in these titles that are coming out. So that's what it is. I think it's a good deal. I think it gives you a good example of like, because I've read Geiger and Redcoat, and it gives you good, like, hey, about these. And then the other ones kind of give you a flavor what the other books are going to be like. So I think it's worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Power Pack Into the Storm, #1, written by Louise Simonson, with pencils by June Brigham, with art, with inks by Roy Richardson. So now, Power Pack is a book that came out, I believe, in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was, in some respects, it's kind of a young adult book that was way ahead of its time. And Louise Simonson had written X Factor and stuff, and June Brigham just had a classic kind of, I don't know, like kids book, in a way. So the basic story here is that Alex, Julie, Jack, and Katie, they're all kids. Some of them are a little older than the others, but they have been given these powers. And it's kind of a kid's, it's like, I mean, it's post New Mutants, but it's kind of like New Mutants. It's more family friendly and more, kind of nice and everything. And so what the basic story is here is that Franklin Richards, who is still a kid, this is almost set in the past for the most part, has this dream about these monsters coming to Earth. And what it is Kofi and Dijana, they're sent to school, and they discover kind of like this, there's something going on. They end up on Earth, and that's the end of the first issue. They kind of have to stop this, the bad guys coming to Earth, and that's the basic story. Power Pack has always not been a super deep book, but it's a good, charming book. I mean, it's not going to be for everyone, but I do like the fact that it's a good, well-told story. June Brigham's art is really, really nice. It's a good all-ages book, which is, I know there's a lot of, kids have gravitated towards, the young adult graphic novels, but it's still nice to see all-ages books, that are regular comics, I think, because then that gives them a flavor of like a regular comic format. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you have like kids. I think it's very kid friendly, and it's entertaining as an adult. Like I said, it's the book's not going to blow you away, but it's like it definitely will charm you, and that is well worth the price of admission there. Next up, we have Disney Villains Hades #5, written by Elliot Kalan, with artwork by Alessandro Rinaldi. So this is actually the final issue of this first storyline. Now, whether there'll be more, we don't know. But basically, it wraps up the story of Hades. He got the Golden Fleece. He gets his revenge on the gods. He turns him into, like, he turns Zeus into a worm. And then it's up to Medusa, Monitor, and the gang to try to get the Golden Fleece back and, you know, save the gods and save everybody. This has been really an enjoyable book. I'm a really big fan of Hercules. And, you know, so it's been a lot of fun, and it's really centered on Hades, which is very important. Hercules has not been in, you know, in the book, which is because it's Hades. And, you know, like I said, I think they've captured the charm of the character from the movie and everything. I think they had a fun story. Rinaldi's artwork has been really, really good. I've really enjoyed the artwork, and the story was a lot of fun. The good news, kids, is that at the back of the book, there is going to be a Hercules series or mini-series. I'm not quite sure whether it's going to be, you know, mini-series or full series. But that's interesting because right now Dynamite has been doing villain stuff, so this is the first announcement of really hero stuff beyond gargoyles. So that's actually really exciting to hear. So I'm very excited about that. So we'll see where that goes. But with Hades, it's probably going to be hard to find the issues. I know they're going to do a trade of this story. So definitely check that out when it comes out, because Dynamite has done actually a really nice job, even though I haven't been maybe the biggest fan of all the books that they've put out for the Disney villains, but I do like that they're putting them out. I think it's a really good for the industry. You know, once again, you know, kind of these all ages books, very important. Next up, we have Crashdown #1, written by Tom Garcia and Ryan Sargent, with artwork by Ben Templesmith. So, you know, the tagline from the publisher is, you know, kind of, it's a cross between Alien and H.P. Lovecraft. And basically, and what it is the Earth is dying, so they're sending crews to this this new planet Empryon, where they're gonna, you know, recolonize and everything. Except for when they get there, the planet is not too happy with them coming there. So that's really the basic premise. This first issue is kind of like, it's okay. It's a lot of setup and everything, so it's, you know, just exposition. So, you know, there's you know, the Garcia and Sargent, you know, set up the whole story, kind of give you, you know, introduce all the characters and stuff that are going to be involved with this book. And then, you know, when they get down the planet, there's like the sea creature that, you know, destroys the ship, the scouting ship, and then there are some survivors, and they're going to have to, like, survive what the planet's doing. So I wouldn't say it was particularly original. It was kind of okay, only because, you know, it's a setup. So we're really going to have to see where the second issue goes. I will say the one big plus on the book is Templesmith's art. He's a really great artist, and it really looks good. But we'll kind of have to see where the story goes, because the story, you know, once again, the setup's pretty basic here, but I think it shows promise, and that's always a plus for a first issue that has a lot of exposition in it. And finally this week, we have Rumpus Room #5, written by Mark Russell, with artwork by Ramon Rosanas. So this finishes up the story of Bob Shrunk, who is a billionaire and basically squishes people into cream that keeps him young. And that's the basic premise. And so what this issue, Detective Erica Hernandez, she ultimately went looking for her sister, Olivia. And a bit of a spoiler if you haven't read it. So if you don't want to, spoiler alert, that she finds out that her sister, Olivia, was working with Bob as one of the, you know, kind of guards. And so basically, they're able to get out of the Rumpus Room, and theoretically, and Bob is killed. The house is kind of destroyed, and then all this stuff kind of comes out of what's been going on. You know, it's kind of like how kind of the rich versus the poor in a way. That's kind of a basic premise here. But I think what I really loved about how Russell wraps up this, it's not like, the whole issue is about them getting out. No, that's only really the early part of the thing. It's really what is great about this last issue is it's the fact of the repercussions and all the aftermath of what has happened and what has been learned from this whole thing. And also how the rich control a lot of things or manipulate certain things. And I don't want to go into too many details to give too much away. But Russell's really nailed this. I mean, he's really brilliant at social commentary. I really like this book. I know there's going to be a trade of it coming out, so definitely pick that up when it comes out if you haven't been able to get the individual issues. But and Rosanes's artwork is really this is a really good looking book. It's a really great package. I really love this book. It was definitely one of Russell's best, and he's done a lot of really good stuff. But I really enjoyed this, and it was very, very wild story. And once again, his social commentary is just spot on. That's going to do it this week. Once again, very short week, kids. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, the owner, does a really great job. It's a really great comic store. They have a great pull service so you don't miss any of your books. They offer discounts on trades and paperbacks, manga. They have a great all ages section that he's been building up. He also has a section for local creators and their books and prints and things like that, which is really awesome. It's kind of like, giving back to the community, So there's also Annie, Wendy, and Derek. Derek does all their socials. Check out their Facebook pages. They have a fan page or a fan group page for everybody. So check that out. But really, as always, support your local comic shop. They're really the backbone of the industry, and I know a lot of stores are struggling right now. So make sure if you pre-order your books, pick them up on a timely basis, and really just support your local comic shop. Like I said, this week, even though there's not a lot of new books, there's still a lot of stuff in like especially Pulp Fiction has tons of stuff that you can always pick up, and definitely I know times are tough, but if you have ordered your books from your local comic shop, please pick them up on a regular basis. It's very important. And as always, we end our show with be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. It doesn't cost anything to be kind, but definitely it's important to take care of yourself and also to take care of others by being kind. Being kind doesn't cost anything. It's really simple. Just saying hello, how you doing, opening the door for somebody. It's not rocket science, folks. Things are tough. Sometimes it seems like the world's on fire, but being kind to yourself and being kind to others can really, a little goes a long way. I always say that. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comments are always welcome. Please share our videos. It's really great. But as always, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And, if you have feedback, let me know. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off for this week. We'll be back again next week with some more comic reviews. Take care of yourselves and be kind. All right. Bye-bye.